Diamonds on my wrist when I step up on a diamond, 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 diamonds on my wrist when I step up on
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top transportation morning show, breaking down 3 industry articles every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. And here it is, you guys. It's a holiday weekend out there. And before we get into the show, got to give some shout outs to my the people who make this show possible here for you guys. My friends over at Bitfreighter. You guys, they are on a mission to connect the logistics industry with a flat fee for unlimited EDI messaging. Carriers and brokers alike, if you are still paying EDI character charges or transaction-based fees with setup costs, you are costing yourself money. You are paying EDI fees for the loads you decline. These guys have flipped the EDI pricing model upside down. With their unlimited EDI messaging pricing and their managed EDI services, EDI is no longer an expensive, unattainable, and painful process. Bitfreighter's managed EDI platform is fully integrated with TMS providers like PCS, DAT Keypoint, Revinova, EasyLoader, and just to provide some seamless transitions for you guys out there. Take back full control of your EDI by having full access and insight to all of your connections and data. If you are already looking at ways to make your company more efficient and cost-effective, you now have a platform to scale with your connections without revenue drain into utilizing Bitfreighter. You guys, if you're ready to learn more, visit www.bitfreighter.com to request a demo to get today and to check and see if your TMS is one of the 9 that they have full integrations with. Just do me a favor, let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. And also, good morning, Michael Geeson, Samantha Bass, good morning. Happy Friday. We're all out here. It's a Freight Friday. It's a holiday weekend and everything. Michael Cole, what's good, brother? How are you? Also, you guys, as it is no surprise that my friends over at VHub make this show possible every single day for you guys as well. You guys, asset reutilization is the wave of the future here in freight. We are out here. We need trucks. We need trailers, especially though. So you can create a drop trailer pool right now with their seamless and effective tool that's out there. If you guys can check it out, they have round trip opportunities available right now, and you get paid to reposition this one on top of the money that you make by putting freight in the back of that trailer to get it up there. As you can see, they have trailers available right now in the Chicagoland area, going up into Toronto and then Montreal area. And then you can grab another one out of there as well to head back down into the States, down to York, PA or Shippensburg, PA. Again, you guys, you get paid to reposition this stuff on top of that. So it's a money-making opportunity out there. If you're a power-only carrier right now, or you're a broker looking to provide a drop trailer pool for your customers, check them out right now, you guys. My friends over at VHub, they are available right now. They're going to be in the audience as well. You guys, vhubapp.com, hit them up. Hit up my man, Xavier Campos. He's my main point of contact over there, and he's ready to make things happen with us on this beautiful Freight Friday. My man, Kevin Sterling, what's up, brother? Good morning. Nick Erdman, good morning, man. How are you? David Keller, what's up, Keller? How are you, brother? Keller's out there in Reno, Nevada right now. It's Friday. It's holiday weekend right now, you guys. As you know, if you haven't had these conversations, please, for the love of God, before you have any of these drivers departing their facilities at the shippers, let's find out where they're storing their freight. All right, let's find out where these trucks are at. Let's get the addresses. Let's find out if it's a secure yard. All right, let's find out where this stuff is so we can provide that information to our customers. Again, you guys, holiday weekends, freight theft goes through the absolute roof during this time. So we got to think ahead. We got to be proactive in these situations. And this is coming from somebody who's had truckloads stolen before. I've dealt with this, and it was a failure on my part because, again, the more questions you ask, the more information you have, the less likely, again, this doesn't eliminate a lot of this stuff, but the less likely that one of these scenarios is going to present itself to you. And then it's going to completely derail your holiday weekend. So let's get ahead of it right now. And then furthermore, talk to your facilities, find out who's leaving early, find out who's closed Monday, who's open Monday, what their hours are. Is there anything out there that we can do to separate ourselves from our competition? Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, you guys. We got to separate ourselves. That's how we gain market share. Steven Tado, what's up, brother? Good morning. Also, this is day 35 of the Freight Coach tally of there being a truck parking issue as well as a facilities issue that's out there. And again, you guys, I don't do this for the vanity metrics. All right. I do this for education. I do this for progress. And as soon as drivers stop sending me these messages with pictures of these facilities that don't allow them to use their bathrooms. And again, I understand all sides of this. All right. I get it. But if we're going to hold them up there for whatever reason, let them drop their trailer and leave. All right, plain and simple. Let them drop their trailer, leave, go use the restroom, fuel up, whatever that looks like. You guys, again, we gotta shatter these silos that are in this industry. And again, I know, like, I'm not trying to lump everybody into this. All right, this is something that's out there that we need to address, and we need to make changes and make it happen. So for me, you guys, let's do this. Let's keep moving forward. Also, we got a fuel update, and not much of an update. It's actually down 4 cents national average. That's out there, you guys. It's at a staggering $5.57 a gallon of gold out there, because that's what it's called right now. It's just gold is what they're filling up their trucks with out there. And it's up almost $2.40 a gallon year over year. I get all this information from the EIA.gov. And then also my friends over at Trucker Tools, you guys, they are on their app. You know, if you're a driver out there right now, download their app. You can put your lane in there that you're running, and it will pull up fuel stops along the way to help you make more cost-effective decisions on where and when to fill up your truck so you can get the most savings that's out there. And again, if you're one of those drivers who maybe you bought your truck in the last year and your payments are up there for whatever reason, this gives you an opportunity to save on a little bit on your overhead on fuel and everything else, and then pay off your loans faster. We got to get you profitable. We got to get that stuff done. We got to know our costs so we can keep moving profitable freight, because I'm fighting for you guys. All right. The 97% of the trucks on the road, I'm fighting for you guys. All right. We're going to do this. I'm not going to go silent about any of this stuff. We're going to make some things happen out there. I'm going to be live on Monday. I got a special guest for you guys here, but he's finishing up his makeup, I think, out back, trying to get himself all dialed in. Samantha Bass. Yes. See who is open and closed. God, look at this. He's Orange Shirt Gang's a real thing, you guys. I'm telling you, this is not stopping. And he's got the hat on and everything. Shannon Breed, what up?
Happy Freight Friday, my brother. This is shocking. I can't believe this happened. I mean, what are the odds?
I know. Orange Under Armour shirt and a backwards freight coach hat. I don't know where this comes from.
I mean, I can't afford neon, right? We're just a startup, right? But at the end of the day, like, we're getting close here. So
exactly. Pretty soon we're gonna have that Freight Vana sign, neon. You should hit him up, man. My boys at Graham's Neon over in Mesa.
All right. I will. That would be nice for HQ too. So
yeah, that's exactly it. What's new in the market in Freight Vana world right now, man? Because you guys kind of like my over with VHub and everything, you guys kind of took all this on by getting out there. What has been the feedback that you're getting right now more than ever? You're like, with the market changing and everything else, you guys have that solution that they're looking for. What's the feedback that you're getting right now about being able to drop trailers, your own Freight Vana trailers at their facilities?
Yeah, I think we're still seeing a lot of traction, right? I know people talk about the freight recession, things falling off. The reality is, and a lot of people have talked about this, right? It's well communicated. The freight volumes are still high. People are still consuming. You know, I know that inventory levels are high for retailers, but the consumption is still happening, and shippers still need creative solutions. And I think the part that you and I have talked about in the past is that the small carriers still need opportunities to find good, consistent freight.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, Chris, right? This market actually bodes itself better to that type of a push and those types of connections when the spot market is super volatile and $3+4 a mile, whatever it might be at the time, right? That's much harder to capture kind of that consistency. And so you're seeing carriers start to kind of have that flight towards consistency. Yeah. You're seeing that in statistics with some of the asset companies we work with in regards to hiring and recruiting. So you're starting to see that happen. But as far as the trailer pools, it continues to be that portal that gives us an opportunity to compete with some of the largest asset providers in the country. But leave no bones about it. It's a challenge. It's expensive. It's highly leveraged. It completely changes a traditional model. So it definitely isn't for everybody. And we're excited about it, but still a lot that we're working on to make it as efficient as it can be. So
no, absolutely. And you know, Shannon essentially just explained to you guys the realities of a business and a startup and the fact that you got to figure things out. And I think that that's one thing that almost holds a lot of people back in this process is it's like they think it should just get easier, and it doesn't get easier. You just have to continue to navigate through this stuff, because there's never a day. If you're really building something, there's never a day that's like, oh, that was easy, you know? And if it is, you're like, fuck, what did I mess up?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you said that well. And I honestly think it's what you're building for, right? And I think sometimes people get a little bit too far out over their skis, right? You know, start to chase a few things. And then when this market turns, right, which we haven't seen in a couple of years, but it has softened a little bit. Everybody follows the spot market, but it is starting to follow the seasonal trends, albeit with a precipitous fall off over the last. But if you look at it last week, right, that thing turned, Chris. The spot market refreshed a little bit. It upticked for the first time. It'd be interesting to see next week, but this is not unusual, right? This is the model. If you look at the 5-year averages, like it typically freshens every single week sequentially until you get past the July 4th holiday. So we should be used to seeing this. You see that trend happening. Like I said, I think that far drop off, but that just shows the elevated levels and how much of a abnormality last year was as a whole.
No, and that's kind of, I feel like, been my entire point the entire time with a lot of this stuff is you guys like this is legitimately really just how it goes. Like there's no shock and awe factor of the fact that markets shift, and that was the narrative that I kind of wanted to quiet is it's like, hey, yeah, there's a very real thing that can happen. But you guys, that doesn't mean that the freight's moving, because it's like, obviously I'd be singing a very different tune if there was a significant drop in overall freight volumes. And that just has not happened yet. And then it did line up. DOT inspection week, and I said this prior to that, DOT inspection week is going to be the level off point of it. And then it's going to slowly rise up through the 4th of July. That's just what happens every single year in a normal freight market, especially with the seasonal produce pump that is happening, and produce season started a little bit later this year. So I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I'm no Nostradamus here, but I would guess that these rates are going to hold steady through probably most of July. They're going to gradually increase on the spot market. And I don't think I could see obvious rebids that are going to happen. Like they're going to look to get that back. But again, Shannon, you've been doing this just as long, if not longer than I have. They're not going to cut their contracts in half and say, figure it the fuck out. That's just not going to happen. They're going to look to get a little bit back. That's just the way a market works. So that's the literal definition of a free market, I'm pretty sure, in Webster's dictionary,
Yeah, unfortunately, Chris, freight professionals are like NFL cornerbacks, right? They got short-term memories, which is sometimes a good thing and sometimes works against you, right? So,
Correct.
It's for the last 2 years, it's been a certain way. And plus, think about all the new entrants and new people in logistics, right? Like there are folks that have come to this industry. This is all they've known, right? If you've joined logistics in the last 2 years, you're like, what is this? Like it is a little shocking. And you've got a lot of people that have grown their businesses. A lot of new people have entered the logistics space with all the publicity and the great technology and everything that's coming into the market. So this is nuanced for some, but yes, if you look back, if you follow anybody that carries the historical data trends, there's some people that do a really good job of doing that and some partners that we use, but you go back 10, 12 years, like this is a market cycle. It cycles. Yes. This is not nuanced. And you've got very smart people, to your point, that are seeing, hey, it'll start pulling down the contracts, but it's not half, right? Yeah. Contracts don't move at the same volatility spot does, never have. They have gotten more volatile, but you're right. You're not going to see a 50% reduction, but you also will see the brokers and the truckers that have built their businesses predicated on those $3 to $4 a mile trends, plus the expensive equipment. And that's going to be a heightened challenge that you watch some people work through in this changing environment.
No, absolutely. But I feel like that, like the whole point of everything I do is to put that education piece out there. It's to hear it from guys like us who've been through multiple freight cycles. Like, hey, this is normal. It's not fun, but again, I can't force you to know this stuff, but know your cost, know your break even, know your profit margin baked into that. And you can find that rate you're looking for to stay profitable through this. And that's what it's all about. It's like, again, it's not like this industry is a lot more fragmented than what certain headlines will say, because just because the overall market says one thing does not mean that that's how it is on a lane by lane basis across the country. If anything, adversely, it's extremely opposite of that, because I like you see a lot of stuff out there. If you broke down every single one of Freightvana's shipments or every single one of the brokerage or other asset-based carrier shipments that are out there, it's not a $1.74 every fucking lane. It's very much different than that. So
yeah, there's tons of opportunity, and just like there was amazing opportunities through the disruption a few years ago with COVID and all the disruption there will be similar opportunities throughout this market, and that's the exciting part, right? I think that's for the people that have done logistics for a while, or even the new folks, like the fact that it's changing every day is one of the fun parts about it, right? Like there are jobs where it's very consistent every day, and you kind of, you know what you're going to be accomplishing every day. Logistics is always moving, and that's the fun part for those of us who have gravitated to it over the years.
No, absolutely. Michael Cole, he says, I started in 2020. I have no idea what normal is. That's freight, man. That is freight. There is no normal in freight. You know, it's like, as soon as you got to figure it out, shit happens. Well, hey, let's dive into the first article here. And again, if we don't get to all three, we don't get to all three. That's fine. But this first one I really wanted to talk about because it's from Freight Waves, and it's shippers ready to fight truck driver overtime pay bill in Congress. And the NITL says legislation threatens strides made in the trucking deregulation. It's legislation aimed at ensuring overtime pay for truckers is getting close scrutiny from a major shipper group that plans to fight hard if the bill starts to gain steam. The Guaranteeing Overtime for Truckers Act, introduced in April by Representative Andy Levine from Michigan, would repeal motor carrier exemption in the Fair Labor Standards Act, an exemption that excludes many drivers from overtime pay. Truck drivers across the country face brutal working conditions marked by inadequate pay and long hours, Levine's commented when he introduced this bill. Despite the tireless work, truck drivers do not receive overtime pay for overtime hours. As a result, the trucking industry faces an extreme high turnover rate, as truckers cannot keep up with the thankless demand of their work. We all stand to benefit when truckers are paid what they are owed. I don't know how it's the shipper's responsibility to pay. Like that seems like that's a carrier problem. So I see, and that's the thing. And sorry to cut you off there, man, before you go. When you read this article, what it's saying is it is forcing somebody else to pay your employees overtime. That's not their employee. And I think, like, again, maybe I perceived this wrong, but the verbiage that I took away from this is that somebody's asking a shipper. So essentially, I would be billing Freightvana and forcing Freightvana to pay me overtime as an independent contractor coming in there, but Freight Coach doesn't have to pay me that. That's the way that I broke it down.
Yeah, and I don't know the intricacies of this. There's probably people that are well more astute to this act. But what I would say is the challenge is, yes, like as an employee, that would be number one, the person I would believe that would have to pay you overtime. The second thing is, right, the industry. I know there's some people out there looking to test and challenge this. You mentioned earlier in your conversation, shout out the silos. Well, typically the business runs on a per mile basis, right? There are people challenging with hourly wages. There are people challenging that with a salary driver jobs. I think that overtime could work in a more efficient manner with those programs. But when you're looking at a per mile basis and then trying to back in also overtime pay, I think you're going to see a lot of folks struggle to do that. And then the other one that's not fully clear to me, honestly, Chris, is from an owner operator perspective, you're your own company. So you can charge whatever you want. No one's has you on a full blown pay scale, right? Technically as an owner operator, right? There's that separation of church and state. So as an owner operator, you own your own business. I don't know anybody that gets to charge overtime as they own their own business, right? Unless that's worked out in their agreement. So, and with the high number of owner operators, I guess I'm not fully read in or understanding how overtime would work for independent operators that operate their trucks.
Yeah, and that's what I think, because again, like I researched this and I didn't find anything to the contrary. What I see in this is it's essentially forcing the overtime to go on. But like, I feel like as a business owner, that needs to be baked into your rates like that, and again, if you're an owner operator and you're not billing detention and a broker's, if you're billing them and they're not paying you detention, call the fucking shipper. Because there might be a possibility that broker did get paid for that, So again, it's like, I see this and I hear it like, nobody should sit for free for 7, 8, 10 hours. That should not happen under any circumstances at all. But
regardless of who pays the overtime, I think it always comes back to what you talked about with parking and efficiency. And that's where I think the shippers and the brokers and the carriers can work together. I mean, I had the opportunity to work with one of the large outfits in the country, and utilization, when you talk about it when driver has a big chunk of time to work and the actual time they're driving is X, that's where the shippers and the brokers and the carrier community need to work together to improve that. Because the per mile breaks down, as you can see, because you're only using 60, 65 most companies can't even dream of 70% of full clock utilization. And so that downtime is, I think, where a lot of this pain, inefficiency, unhappiness by the driver community starts to occur. And that's where I think the problem still lies.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's one of those situations that I feel like that it falls on the trucking company itself here. You know, that like as a business owner, I'm not billing out any like, hey, I mean, if you do find a crafty way to do this and nobody knows or whatever, maybe that's you raising your rates or something. Fuck, I don't know. But I think like because I know you know, shout out to Great Plains Transport out of North Dakota and shout out to our mutual friend Matt Hero at Fresh Freight in there in Phoenix. They salary their drivers. They don't deal with a lot of this stuff. You know, so I think that, again, it's never anybody else's responsibility to pay for another person's business when it comes down to it. But yeah. I also feel like there's a way that there are some inefficiencies in this industry that we could collectively fix.
Yeah. And to your point, if the idea is that shippers would pay that, that seems so convoluted. Like, how would they even have access to the information? Yeah. Like to me, there's way too many complexities that don't make sense in that, if that's the structure that people are going for.
I'm just going to throw this out there. It's a lot of fucking smoke. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. That's just my gut instinct. Again, who am I? I'm just a dude who talks shit into a mic, but my gut instinct says this will fucking falter. Just throwing that out there. So again, it's great for the clicks. I don't know if it'll gain any steam out there. And again, that's over at FreightWave. Shippers ready to fight truck overtime pay bill in Congress. This next one, this is I think this is kind of at top of mind with a lot of people's assessment on what's really going on in the freight market. The fact that inventories are up and stuff like that. So there isn't a lot of slowdown in retail sales, seem to be holding pretty strong. You know, overall, it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of drop in that. But this one was coming from the JOC. U.S. import inventory glut inevitable, but not here yet. Let's see. There is bound to be a U.S. inventory glut of imported retail goods, but despite recent warnings from Walmart and Target, key indicators suggest it has yet to hit the Trans-Pacific trade. Inflation was slowing of sales of general merchandise faster than Walmart anticipated. A 32% increase in inventory is higher than what we want, CEO Doug McMillan said. Spending on kitchen appliances, TVs, and outdoor furniture at Target, the second largest U.S. importer by volume, fell more sharply than expected, racking up storage costs for the retailer. Nevertheless, we're seeing healthy overall spending, even as American consumer spending continues to evolve, the CEO of Target said. And, you know, unlike smaller importers, Walmart and Target have wielded their economic scale during the COVID pandemic, and their shelves were stocked, and e-commerce orders could be fulfilled. It's, you know, it's tough because it's like, I almost wonder, are we seeing the after effects of people over purchasing the mainstays of inventory that are going to, like, the non-perishables, essentially? Like, hey, this is not a seasonally based product, so we're going to buy 2 extra containers of fucking plastic dividers for kitchens. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a seasonal aspect of that. So I wonder if, because I couldn't find a more detailed breakdown of when they're saying inventory levels are up, but inventories of what specific products. I know they kind of threw that caveat of the seasonal appliances and stuff like that.
I think the seasonal, the bulky items, and we're having conversations with shippers executives every week, right? And they are talking about certain products are not moving, right? And so now they do have some inventory product, some issues. They're working on some creative sales packages to drive that. You mentioned inflation, clearly, right? As inflation ticks up, people have less spending power. Now, to your point, perishables, those daily goods, like, those are going to continue to flow. Like, people get accustomed to those. But patio furniture, right? If you have that dilemma on what you're going to purchase, like, patio furniture typically is a necessity. So those become those ticket items that I think sit around longer, don't move as fast. Plus, with the glut that they brought in, a lot of them are saying now they're trying to figure out ways to move those, like I said, creatively to get rid of that warehouse space, because the throughput's just not there in their stores. And so, but once again, it's like the cyclicality of it, they crushed it, right? Like, if you follow also Target's number year over year, as we went from pandemic, like, we're talking numbers at their size, which is astronomical on what they're growing top line. So the expectation is you can't grow at that size, at that top line forever. So this is kind of this same thing we're talking about the spot rates, right? This is that regression back to the mean, which shouldn't be too shocking for people as we get back to more normal levels for retail sales.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And again, it's very telling. And like, this is why you need to, like, again, as I say all the time, you guys do your own research on this stuff. I'm just talking about and providing my perspective on things. But the items that they mentioned are seasonal and luxury items. Like, let's call it what it is. Outdoor furniture, necessity, no. Nice to have, fuck yeah. Who doesn't like a good outdoor set? But all I'm saying though is like what you're talking about right there, man. With gas prices being fucking $88 a gallon, essentially at this point, what are you going to do? Buy a new outdoor patio or fill up your fucking car? So it's like that. I think that's what you see. This is natural in an inflation market. This is a natural spending change. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut you off, but the other thing, we go back to trailers, right? You talk about your partner V-Hub, what we're doing.
Yep.
Increased challenge on carriers, anybody who's operating trailers, because as inventory fills up in warehouses, what's the next segment of mobile warehouses that can potentially be taking advantage of sitting on lot? What do you think that looks like?
I don't know. Please do tell.
Yeah. Go grab a 53-foot drive-in and put 10 of them on there. And so I think the way that people manage that, the communication they have with their shippers, anybody that's running drive-in freight, what you will see as you look at your analytics is those hold times, those dwell times for loaded trailers are going to continue to escalate. And you need to make sure, for anybody that follows the show, that you've got very strong contracts and communication and internal tracking to make sure that you can bill accordingly, because naturally the next step, Chris, after that warehouse is full and the throughput starts to slow, now you got more trailers, more dwell time, and you're going to have a lot of shippers wanting that flexibility even more than ever. And if you're on the wrong side of that or you're not prepared, you're going to find yourself, from a costing perspective, really finding yourself in a tough spot. So that would be something I'd share with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And that, because that's one thing, like I've done that for a couple of my customers who moved their warehouses. And what it was is we had to go and rent like 15 drive-ins to store for 60 days while they, because again, like if you've never been in a warehouse, you might not understand how much shit is inside of these fucking things. So, essentially they need that long-term approach, and then they need to store it there because they're still trying to move freight out of that facility while they're winding it down. And then they hit that inflection point where it's like, essentially, all right, all the materials are out. Now it's racking and everything else that they throw inside the drive-ins. Then you bring that down to the next facility, or you start transferring some of that, where I've had a coordinated one where it's like, hey, we're going to remove a quarter of this warehouse. Now you're going to transfer it down to the new one, and then we're going to start shipping in. It's a fucking jigsaw puzzle if you've never been a part of it, but they need trailers for that. And they need that approach where it's like, I mean, as a broker right now, you guys, you can literally make a fuckload of money by positioning this. It's not a sexy margin per se, but that's consistent 180-day, 6-month revenue coming in based off of drop trailer capacity pools for warehouse changes and everything else. And instead of, like, I would position it too, when you're talking to your customers about their inventory levels right now, drop a couple of trailers. Just be like, hey, you can use these. Here's our rate. If you keep them for 30, 60, or 90 days, that can help with your congestion. They got a yard jockey who's going back and forth. And, that's just one of those things that, again, think outside of the box. Like, it's not just Atlanta to Chicago, one pick, one drop. You guys, like, you got to get creative out there. Dan Penrod's in the audience right now, providing shippers with updates on drop trailers. Usage is critical. Many shippers lose sight of this until they get the bill. Very good point. Yes, Patricia. Happy Memorial Day, F-bomber. Thank you. I'm going to take that as a compliment. But yeah, you guys, that article was from the JOC. Check it out. Again, U.S. import inventory glut inevitable. We got a couple minutes left here, man. We won't get into the third article. That's fine. But what advice do you got to anybody who, man, they might be new. They might have some very real scenarios coming up here. You are starting your company, bootstrapping, building it up. The realities of seeing those receivables not come in, the payables fucking due. What piece of advice can you give to anybody out there right now who might be having some hard choices coming up about finding the solution?
Yeah, I think make sure that you've got a really good handle on your finances, right? I think for John and I, one of the strengths we have is that's kind of our background, right? And then we learned transportation secondarily, right? A lot of people jump into transportation, start companies, but they don't have that maybe that financial background. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with folks where you have that visibility, that P&L visibility, that trend and KPI visibility. There, when the money's flowing and you feel like you're crushing it and everything's, you got the wind in your sails, maybe not as important. Right now is the time where you have to be dialed on those costs, and you have to understand where you're at. You understand your cash burn. You got to understand all of the components of your financial business. So that's something that I would highlight for the teams. And then, hey, the markets do change. So you got to stay attuned. You got to be creative, right? Like what worked 6 months ago is not going to work today. So you've got to be agile, which is the benefit of, the broker and carrier community. It's a very agile, kind of sector. And so you can find opportunities in it, but you cannot wake up and rest on your laurels. So I think the two things I would share with people are be dialed on the financials, stay agile. And then the other thing is you gotta give that confidence to your team, right? Because they're going to see things change, and there's going to be some folks out there that see this change in market. Their people are going to have questions. Your people are going to have doubt, and that's the time when leaders can step up and give that confidence on. Right? I've used this statement before. I'd share it with you here, Chris, and the people following. Like the captain of a ship is virtually useless until the stuff starts going wrong, until the storm rolls in, until something breaks, until there's an issue. Like that's when the captain's valuable. Like when on a clear day and clear skies and you know where you're going, like what's a captain's real role, right? And so to reiterate that, like we're in these tumultuous times, some challenging times. And I think people need, from a leadership perspective, realize, hey, now is the time you step up and lead your team through the storm. It's very important in times like this.
No, absolutely, man. And it's also pay attention to the people who are actually moving freight in this industry right now. Like that's one big piece of advice that I would give out there, because, people who I have on my show, we're active in the day-to-day. We're not just talking about this shit. We've lived this life at a very high level for a very long time. We see the realities of this. And again, it's like, we're not here to say that everything's sunshine and gumdrops, but we're here to provide a solution. We're like, Shannon's cut from a different cloth, you guys. He's been through this. He's building this up. Him and his team over at Freightvana, they are active. They are doing this. They're bootstrapping this stuff. They see the nitty gritty of this all. They know they don't have $1 billion of a golden parachute dumped in or anything like that, where they can make, they're literally doing this. Like Shannon's fucking future and Freightvana's future is resting on the decisions they make. So they don't take this shit lightly. They're providing this information for a reason, you guys. We want to see people stay in business and stay profitable. That's what it's all about. We're here to provide education and progress for this industry. We don't have all the answers. We're never going to proclaim to have all the answers, but what we're going to provide is an actual solution for you to follow and implement today and see a meaningful difference out there. So Shannon, how does anybody find you, man?
You can find me on LinkedIn, obviously Shannon Brain. You can follow us on Freightvana. Would be awesome if we can get anybody to follow us. Pretty fun journey, and hopefully you enjoy the content. And then obviously we've got our website, www.freightvana.io. Got a lot of information on what we're doing, and can be reached that way too, Chris. So
absolutely. Well, that's it for today, you guys. Have a happy holiday weekend. I'll be live on Monday, because if the freight's moving, the freight coach is speaking. All right. I'm going live Monday morning. Chris Jolly, aka the Freight Coach, the top transportation morning show in the industry. You guys, live every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. The audio only replay will be available on the podcast platform later on today. Full video replay available on YouTube. Subscribe and share this out, you guys. This is how all this shit has continued to grow, is through the support you guys show me. I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll be talking to you guys on Monday. And we're out.